Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the It's Cringe But It's True podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Olivier, and today we are here with... Are you looking at me like...
What am I supposed to do?
Okay, today we are here with my dad, everybody, and he has been on the podcast a few times now.
Yep.
How many? Like 3?
This is my third, I think.
Third?
Yeah.
Third or fourth? Yeah.
I think they're the most popular.
Yeah, they're the most popular for sure, you guys. No, they're not. Oh. But honestly, like, on a real note, I owe pretty much everything that I've done on this podcast to my dad. He's, like, one of my biggest inspirations, and you've given me so much, like, advice, and, like, you have made me who I am today, which is what I talk about on this podcast. Like, it's all thanks to you.
Thank you. So it's really my podcast.
It's really your podcast. Anyways, today we are going to be talking about depression and just kind of dealing with it and managing it. It is like one of the most common, if not probably the most common mental illnesses out there. And yeah, like stats show that like 1 in 5 people are struggling with depression. So we just kind of want to, oh no, you go.
No, please. No, and it is also, I mean, the other thing is, it depends, right? If it's in your family, it's pretty pervasive. Like for my family, I think both of my parents have had it. A lot of my siblings have had it. Like it's pretty pervasive, I think. So 1 in 5 probably of the total population, but if it's in your family, it's more likely, right?
Yeah. And it is like one of the most isolating things to have to deal with and kind of manage. And it's honestly just not talked about enough. And I just think it needs to be destigmatized a little bit more and just kind of talked about a little bit more and like normalized and understood. So today I'm going to be interviewing my father, and he is going to be telling you guys just kind of like your experience like with depression and how that has manifested in your life. So yeah, first you just want to start by like kind of walking us through like how depression has showed up in your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because I think when you're young, you don't even realize, you don't know what depression is, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it showed up when I was in like 7th grade, but my parents had gotten divorced when I was 8 years old. And this was a long time ago, right? So this was like in 1980, I think. So back then, like, I don't think there was research and people hadn't talked about, you know, if you're going through a divorce, what to do, what not to do. And both my parents didn't understand. And it was a pretty bad divorce. Like they were both like trying to turn the kids against each other. And again, I didn't know. I'm 8 years old. I think my siblings were just like, this is weird. But in hindsight, like your whole world falls apart, right? Your safety net, this family you think that, you know, loves you. And like my mom, she was telling me, hey, I think your dad's going to try to hurt you. And like all of a sudden I had all this anxiety and this fear. And then a couple years later, I just started feeling like it was really random, but I started, I actually had an eating disorder, which is really weird because I was like super skinny little kid, you know? But I think what happened is I was just looking for an outlet or some way to deal with this feeling that I didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? And I finally, you know, my parents, I was living with my mom. She recognized it and said, okay, let's get you to a counselor. And then from that, they kind of diagnosed me with depression. And so that was kind of where it first showed up in my life. I was able to kind of get over that just mostly because I just started staying busy, right? Like I was at home, I got into rock climbing, I got into all these things, and I was just busy all the time. And so I don't think I ever really dealt with what it was, but I just got busy. And by being busy and with friends and doing all this stuff, you just kind of like stuff it down a little bit. You know what I mean? And then for me, it started showing up again later in my life. And yeah, I mean, I think it's been a part of my life through a couple different stages. And now I feel like it's kind of behind me, but you know, you never know.
And that's the thing with depression too. I feel like the number one like side effect is just like low motivation to do anything. Like you don't even want to get out of bed sometimes, right? Like you just like don't want to do anything. So I think like, you know, people will be like, yeah, like go on a walk or like go work out or like, you know, go be social. And it's like, that's the last thing you want to do. Like, you know, that's probably going to be beneficial and help you, but you just can't even bring yourself to do it. And so I think like it's so like cliche and like oversaid, you know, but like really like there's so many like things that you really, like tangible things you can actually do to kind of prevent that. And we're going to talk about some of those later in this podcast too. Like to actually kind of pull yourself out of it. I think the first step is just kind of like you were saying, just acknowledging it a little bit, right? Like kind of coming to terms with it and accepting it. I think mental health is like a scary thing to kind of admit to yourself. Like I know in my life, like when I've always, pride myself with being like a pretty happy girl. And like when I first started struggling, like I was like, no. Like I'm not going to say this out loud. I don't want this to be real. But then it's also like, it's okay if it's real. It's human. Like it's so normal and like so incredibly common. Like pretty much everybody's felt similar feelings, right? Like some people it's probably a little bit more intense than others, right? But like I think the first thing is just kind of like coming to terms with it.
And I think it depends where you are in your life. Like when I was in 7th grade and struggling with this, I had no idea. Like I'd go to counseling and I was like, this dude's weird. Why is he asking me these questions? I had no idea what was going on. For me, because I was young, I was able to just kind of pop out of it or stay busy, right? And then all of a sudden it showed back up. I went on a LDS mission and all of a sudden all the support, anytime I started feeling a little bit of maybe something coming on, I would just go outside and exercise or do things, right? I was just so active and had so much going on that I had kind of this safety net where I could get away from it, distract myself. And it wasn't to the point where I was just like, oh, I don't want to do anything. I never got back down that low. But then when I went on my mission, I totally did. All of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get out of bed. I can't do anything. And everyone was telling me, no, you've got to stay out. This is super important. And anyway, I ended up coming home and early, from my mission. And then it was like, I mean, back then especially, I don't think there was not a lot of people were open to that, right? You could tell they were like, oh, what's the matter with him? What did he do? You know what I mean? All this. And so that kind of compounded it. And I really started feeling worse and worse about myself and started thinking, oh my gosh, there's no hope. So that was kind of where I kind of hit rock bottom. And then luckily we had a neighbor who was a counselor, a psychologist. And so I started meeting with her. She was able to help me get on some medicine actually. And that totally, I mean, it took a while. The problem, at least, I don't know how it is now, but the medicines take a little bit to get going. But once it kicked in, then I was able to kind of lift myself out of that, And then, but I remember all through that time, like when you're talking about, okay, well, how did you deal with it? A lot of times I remember I was a waiter at the time and I would be driving to work and like literally just like crying, like just so sad. And I remember going in feeling terrible, but then all of a sudden as a waiter, like you're on, right? It's like you're an entertainer almost. So I joke around with people. You just force yourself, even though you didn't feel like it. I had to, luckily, for my job. And it was so weird. I remember like walking out the same night and I'm like, wait, I'm not depressed anymore, Yeah. So I think turning your focus away from what you're feeling and away from yourself. And like you said, getting out of bed, like go do things, I think really helped me kind of, and then, it just got better and better from there. So
I think it's such a tricky balance too. And I always talk about this, but it's like, you want to obviously take care of yourself, prioritize yourself when you need help and when you're struggling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, it sounds bad, but it's like, don't be so focused on yourself that you don't like we're wired for like social connection as humans, and also like to like serve others and just like talk to others, communicate with others, and just like be happy. Like, like that kind of stuff is also so important, and it will bring you happiness inevitably. Like that is like impossible for it to not.
Yeah.
So it's like a tricky balance. How do you feel like you like navigated that? Like taking care of yourself and also like looking outwards towards others.
It's so true, right? Like, and I think when you're in that, you're like, okay, wait, I just need to like focus on myself and like write in my journal and you know what I mean? Like do all these things that everyone says to do. But you're like I said, the times that really brought me out of it the most was when I was forced to be around people and not like, if it was a party, I'd go to a party and just sit in the corner and like where I could kind of hide away. But as a waiter, like I couldn't do it. Like I honestly would tell people, like if you're struggling with it, like find a place where you have to be smiling and helping people, like a food plate, anywhere where you're like, oh, hey, like you have to be that, because by doing that, it just allows your brain to stop spiraling, because I think that's what happens in depression. You just start feeling bad, and then you're like, oh, I feel bad, so that must mean that it is bad. And then it just kind of spirals down. But if you can get out of yourself or go serve others, for me, it was absolutely having to do it as a job. Like, I needed money, so it was like I had to do it. So that's what worked for me.
It's almost like a fake it till you make it kind of mindset.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's just like, seriously just being like, okay, I have been kind of ruminating on all these thoughts and just like thinking all day, kind of spiraling, right? Like, and just kind of getting out of that and just being like, okay, I feel like crap right now and I don't want to do this. Like, I remember me, like, when I was like doing work, stuff like that, like going out and just like having to like work at the restaurant I worked at and like be on like at first. And then like by the end of the night, I'm like, yes, like, and you just almost like, it's like almost a distraction.
It's a distraction
right?
from your brain, which is what you need, because your brain's misfiring, right? When you're having that. So I think that's exactly what it is. It's just getting outside of yourself. And to me, it's much easier when you have to do it for a job.
Yeah.
As opposed to like forcing yourself, like
go to the library and socialize with 5 people. Yeah.
But I mean, we've talked about this, I think, on the other podcast, but I also did a ton of affirmations during that time. Like, I'd be driving to school. I remember when I was at college, and I'd be driving and like being sad, but I would like look in the rearview mirror and just be like, you're going to have a great day, And I would force myself at school to just go up and talk to people. And I mean, that's when that other podcast we did about taking risks, right? That's when I was like, no, I'm going to take risks here because I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. And I think that's important, to just try to get out of it, however you can. I do think, excuse me, I do think medicine is a huge thing.
Totally.
And that definitely helped. Without that, I don't know that I would have gotten out of it, but it helped lift it. And then you can start seeing things clearly, and you just need a break. When you're in it, you just feel like there's all this weight on you, and you don't see how you're ever going to get out of it. And so just being able to lift your head up out of the darkness for just a little bit, then you're like, okay, wait, there is hope,
Yeah. And yeah, with the medication stuff, I think like it has such a negative connotation. Like that is like
still though.
I feel
think
like
people are.
It's
now
getting
starting,
a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very positively talking about it, and like I feel like a lot of my close friends and family are, right. But like, I think there's definitely still a stigma around it, because it's very like, you are not okay.
You're
therefore,
not able to
you
do
need
it
something.
without.
Yeah, you can't. Or yeah, I even have some like friends that I know with depression, and they're like, will go off their depression medications because they want to prove to themselves that like they can do it without it. And it's like, for me, it's almost like, it's okay. Like you can rely on it. Like your brain is chemically in balance. Like it's nothing that's wrong with you. And this is like I always give the analogy of like, if you broke your leg and they were like, hey, we need to put a cast on you, you'd be like, yeah, put a cast on me.
Yeah.
Right. But like, if someone's saying, hey, there's something wrong with your brain, we need to give you medication, why are we so quick to be like, no, I don't want that. I'm good. Like, I need to prove to myself that I'm fine. Like, it's okay to need that, right?
For sure.
It's
I
the
totally
same
agree
thing.
with that. Yeah. And I think, I mean, for me, I was on it for like 15, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I think I just started like forgetting to take it. Then I was like, oh, wait, I haven't been taking it. And I'm good now. So, yeah, I don't think I think it's, to me, it feels like people now are a lot more accepting, and there shouldn't be any pressure to be like, oh, I got to get off this. I mean, the alternative is you feel terrible. Like that's not a trade-off you want to make, right?
So as I was like doing my research for this episode, we kind of just compiled like our top 3 things that we think are probably just the most like beneficial. Again, depression, it's very situational. Everyone's situation is so different, but like I feel like these 3 things are probably just like the most helpful. And the first one, it kind of goes like easiest to like hardest, I guess. But like first one, just kind of being like talking to people. I think it's very normal, again, to just have that isolating feeling of like, I'm the only one going through this. Like, I can't even express this or like articulate what how to process this or say this to somebody.
Yeah.
And it's also the fear of, am I going to be rejected for this? Like, there's like some people in my life I've told about like some of my mental health struggles that just honestly didn't like accept me, I feel like, and I was like, shoot, well, and I think that's just like the risk you have to take. And I feel like you will learn along the way, like the people that really love you and that are meant to be in your life are going to accept you exactly the way that you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, yeah, just to clarify, not like talking to people like about your depression is what I was meaning. I don't know if anyone got that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like kind of opening up and like being vulnerable and like expressing Because I think when you
asking for help,
asking
and
for help,
like
yeah,
telling
exactly.
people I'm really struggling,
Yes.
and it's so true because I've been there, and you feel like, oh, I don't know how people are going to react. I don't know what they're going to say, and also you're like, I don't know. It's almost like you don't want to talk about it. You're just you want to withdraw, right? And so, yeah, I think it's important to talk to people. And often when you're talking to people, it's just a relief because you let out all of these fears and these concerns and this, like, I don't have, if you don't have hope, you're like, I just don't feel like there's any. And I remember over and over my Allison, my mom, like she would constantly be like, you're going to be fine. Like it was so helpful to me. Like
Yes.
anytime, it was like weekly for a while there, I would like call her or I'd go home and just talk to her and she'd be like, no, this is going to work out. I promise you, and it just gives you hope when there's somebody else there. So I think for sure, bringing other people into it and not keeping it to yourself. And hopefully you have someone in your family that can do it. If not, go find a good friend. There's probably counselors at school or whatever, right? Yeah. But you got to find somebody to talk to.
And it really is such a scary thing. Like I remember when I was a junior in high school, I was really struggling with like anxiety and I didn't want to admit it to anyone. I didn't even think I knew it was anxiety. I didn't even know it was happening, right? Like I literally was like, something's wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. And I remember like even one night, this is for anyone who maybe feels like they don't have anyone that they could talk to, even though like I had people I could have talked to. I could have went to my parents, my friends. Like I did have people, but I didn't. It's hard to articulate. Like I don't know how to say it, but I know people out there are probably going to understand that feeling of like you have people, but you don't want to. Like I was like, I don't want to talk.
Even though you know that they would probably accept it. Or something
it's
about
some
that.
fear. I don't know what really that is, but I remember just like one night, like just like writing in my notebook, like 10 pages, just like brain dump, like, and anxiety and depression are different, but also on the same, track. It's like very similar, just kind of like, even just that, just like cathartic. Even that, just like cathartic release of just like, expressing everything, right? Even just down on paper is like a good first step. And you'll see how much better you feel. And then, like, to a human being, a trusted loved one, like, it is the best feeling ever. You feel so reassured. Or even just, like, getting it. It's like you're holding in, like, a really big secret or, like, something, and you finally get it out, and it's just, like, a weight lifted off of your shoulders, right?
For sure. I think, going back to what you were saying about journaling, kind of an aside, but the one thing that really helped me was this. It's the cheesiest book ever called The Feeling Good Handbook. And literally the author on it's like this cheesy grin. It's like terrible. Like my friends would always make fun of me because I had it in my room, but it had this workbook and it was cognitive therapy. Yeah. Where you write down like all the negative thoughts. Like I would be like, I'm never going to be happy. I'll never get married. I'll never have a family. Like any negative thought, I'd write it down. And then you like look at those thoughts and you're like, oh, I'm fortune telling. Like they label it like, no, you don't know that. Like, and then you would basically talk back to your thought, but on paper, because for me, my depression, it's like once something started in my head, I couldn't I would just start spiraling, right? And I can't think logically anymore. You're just going down. So to me, writing down those thoughts and then talking back to it was super helpful. But I think talking to people like a trained therapist or even like a friend or family member that like really loves you, right? They could help as well. Like just really listen and help you understand and be like, oh, well, let's think about that thought. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Remember, like, when I was younger, we would do, like, that crank thing?
Yeah, that was exactly
kind of it, right?
Cognitive
like,
therapy.
It was kind of like, I was really anxious. What was I?
Yeah, it was, like, anxiety. But then it turned into kind of a little bit of depression, I think, for you. So.
When I was, like, a lot younger. But, yeah, you would have me do that. And it was... But then when you're that young, like, it's just... I was like, what are we doing? Yeah. But it helped,
Yeah, I think it does help, especially as you're older, I think.
Yeah. When you understand it more, you understand yourself more, the world more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of leads us into point number 2 is therapy. I think it is a very daunting task to like try to go to therapy for your first time. I was like so resistant to therapy for years. I was like, I don't need therapy. I'm fine. I can figure this out myself. Like only crazy people go to therapy. Like I'm okay. But like I'm so big on it now and I will always hype it up. And like it has literally changed my life. Like completely. It is so amazing to have someone who is trained in the brain to know exactly what you are going through and they're unbiased, and you can just communicate, and like also like you just tell them whatever. Like I'm just telling her whatever the frick, like things I don't even say out loud ever, right? Like it's just so like such a safe space, and it's not for everyone, you know, like I know I preach it all the time, but yeah, like I've had people come on this podcast and they're like, oh yeah, I don't like therapy, and I'm like, that's great. Yeah, it's not for everyone, you know. What has your experience been like?
Well, I mean, yeah, like the first guy when I was in 7th grade, I was like, dude, what are we doing here? Like this is dumb. I didn't understand it at all. And then when I kind of hit rock bottom, then luckily my neighbor, this lady, was amazing. So that was awesome. Had a great experience. And then after that, like, you know, I'd moved around for work or whatever. And I would just like, whatever my insurance would cover, I'd go. And often I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude is so annoying. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of them where I was like, yeah, this isn't great. But for me, it was like, even if I didn't like resonate with them or like really like them as a person or connect with them, I guess it is so nice to just, like you said, to just be able to like tell them all your fears, and they're trained to be like, you know, to like help you see that it's this not a real thought, right? That it's not, you don't know that, but you're saying all this negative stuff, and they're trained in a way that I think can really help you. So I think if you can go, if you can afford it, whatever, like it's an amazing thing.
And I think I heard something about like that it's easier or better for people that are like verbal processors. Like I'm such a verbal, like if I'm like, you guys know this, like my parents know this, like if I'm like stressed or like thinking about something, like I have to talk about it. I have to talk about it.
We're often like,
there's like,
we're done. We're done.
Like I have to like just like get it out like out loud and have someone hear, and like then I'm like, okay, like so I think for me it really works, but some people don't work like that, right? So I never want to shove that down someone's throat. Like if that's not your thing, don't do it.
For sure, but it's something to consider for sure, because there's a ton of reason why there's so many of them in the world. Like it really helps for sure.
And then the third one we low-key already said, but like medication.
Yeah, medication. Well, and then I think, medication for sure can help. The other one, like for me, that we talked about was like turning to a higher power, to God. Like for me, that was such a huge thing for me. Like thinking that there's somebody there that knows exactly what I'm going through. Because when you're there, you just feel like no one understands you. No one in the world could understand what you're feeling. And you just feel dark and alone. And then to me, to have this belief that, hey, there's a God up there and he loves me and he knows me, right? And he wants the very best for me. And he's sitting there going, you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, I just would picture that. Like, I had this picture of Jesus that like showed him, it shows his face, like he's hugging, and it shows his face and he's like crying, and it shows him hugging somebody. And I was like, I had it in my room, like that's me. Like he's holding me. He knows how hard it is right now, but he's cheering for me and he's going to help me get through this. So to me, that, you know, if you don't believe in God, that's fine too. But like some higher power, something that's out there, you know, helping you or caring about you. To me, that was a game changer for sure. So
helpful. And I think just even thinking like, he knows exactly what you're feeling right now. Yeah. Because even in the world, like I've struggled with depression, you've struggled with depression, but we don't have the same experiences because nobody does. But like everyone's different. He felt exactly what you felt, exactly. Right. And that just makes you feel so much less alone. Or like a concept I love, like with God, is just like it's controversial. I feel like some people don't love this, but like everything happens for a reason, and God wouldn't give you something if he didn't think you're strong enough to handle it. Which when you're going through something, sucks to hear. Like you don't want to hear that. Right. But like I think I made episodes about this before, but just like reflecting back on like some really hard times I've gone through in my life and being like, oh my gosh, like in the moment I was like, what are you doing, God? Like why? Yeah. Why me? What did I do? You know? But like now I'm like
almost like mad.
Yes. But now I'm like, I would not change that for the world, because I wouldn't be sitting here behind this mic and doing this, right? Yeah. Like, and I think that's such a beautiful thought to have. And just like turning to whatever higher power you believe in, literally, like, is just a really relaxing and like freeing thought too. Because like, if you don't feel like anyone relates to you, or you just kind of feel like you're in that spiral, that is like such a good place to turn to.
And just, I mean, really what it's doing is helping you feel like there's a purpose for what you're going through, right?
Yeah.
And like you just said, like thinking, hey, this is going to happen for a reason. And it's so funny because you're right. When someone's like, oh, this is happening for a reason, this is really going to help you. Like, look, freaker, I don't care. You know what I mean? But for me, it's absolutely true. Just like what you said, like I look back and I'm so grateful for, I mean, I was in a depression for probably about 5 years. Like, I mean, not like deep down, but like just kind of barely getting by for a while. You know what I mean? Like it was really hard time, but now I look back and say, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I went through that. Cause now, you know, when you guys are going through it, I'm more aware. I can help you. When it helped me become more like caring more about people, more sensitive, more empathetic. Like there's all these amazing things that come out of feeling that way. And you look at like, I mean, we're geniuses. No, but like there's some, I can't remember what it was. There was a article or something that said like CEOs that are more emotional or that feel are like way more successful. People respect them more. And like, you know me, like I tear up really easily. I'm very emotional. And I think that just comes from having felt so deeply. Right. And, you know, not that everybody's different. And I think, you know, it depends what it was for you, if you went through a depression or whatever. But for me, it's like, I felt so deeply and felt hurt so bad that then like, when I feel that joy or when I see somebody sad, I really feel that, you know? And I think that experiencing that just, it makes you, I don't know how to say it, but like there's some good things that come out of it, right? It increases your depth, your emotional intelligence. And it's terrible. Like if you're going through it, I know exactly how you're feeling. It's so bad, but know that there is some amazing things that come out of it and that you will be a huge blessing to others in the future.
And like another way to look at it, which has made me just find some peace with it almost, is like sometimes you have to think like if you didn't have those low moments, then you would never be able to feel what the high moments feel like. And I'm not saying that those low moments are good. Like it sucks. I get it. It's freaking sucks. But like sometimes that's like if you were always just like mid mood,
it's the worst.
It's just like you're numb. You just like numb out. Like what a beautiful thing almost that you can feel that low so that you get to feel the highs, right? Like, and the euphoria and happiness that comes on the other end, right? Like, and if you are in that low point right now at rock bottom, maybe like just know that you will not be there forever. And I think the most common feeling is that you just think, I'm never getting out of this. I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. I definitely thought that. You thought that, right? Like, it's just the most common thing ever. But like, I am promising you this. You will not be there forever. You will be okay again and you will get out of it. And when you do, it's the best thing ever. And like you were saying, it makes you such a more empathetic person. Like, I remember when like people would talk about mental health, I would get like uncomfortable like when I was younger because I didn't relate. And like now, obviously, it's like my favorite thing to talk about. And I'm like, I feel like I can have a lot more empathy for people and just like relate and like understand people and even try to help people like through the podcast, you know, just like, and so it's so amazing. Like I would never change it. It sucks, but it makes you such a stronger person. It's kind of such a beautiful thing, you know? Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. And when you're in it, you don't feel like there's a way out, but of course there is, right? And that's where you just need to do those things, right? Like try to talk to somebody that like do anything you can to just bring yourself out of it, because you feel like you'll never get out of it, which is the worst feeling in the world. And people can tell you, yeah, you will, like we just did. But if you're not feeling that, you're not feeling it, right? So you've got to just find a way to break out of that. Another thing that I did a lot was, and I mentioned it early on, but was just like exercise. I think is super important. Your body creates natural antidepressants when you're exercising, especially if you're like sweating or breathing hard or whatever. Like the times in my life where I've been like really into like road biking or like doing tons of cardio, it was like super easy to like, you know, pop out of that. So.
Another thing that just popped in my head that I used to do all the time in high school when I was struggling a lot, I would just like look up like quotes on Pinterest. And obviously it's like my whole brand, like my quotes, like I love inspirational stuff. I always have, which is so funny that I'm doing this because I've always been that way. Like I just remember like I was just so depressed and just so sad. And I literally would just go on my mom's computer and I would just like look up like quotes, life quotes, like inspirational quotes. And like I'd be like crying at the computer at like 15. Like, and just like today, even in my daily life when I'm struggling, like I love going on my like, it's cringe but it's true Instagram, and like I scroll through all that inspirational stuff and like find quotes or just like people talking about it, like listening to podcasts like this, you know, even just like little things to make you feel less alone and just kind of give you hope. And, you know, there is a thing is like, it's kind of sappy, like annoying, like you're going to do great. Like you're going to get better. Like, you know, find whatever resonates with you. I think like, you know, my favorite quote is going to be so different from someone else's favorite quote because it resonates with me. But just like find the type of content, like curate your social media, like watch uplifting things instead of comparing yourself. That's a whole thing with depression that we can go into. But
one other thing that I did, and I'm just thinking back, I remember like in college especially, it was really hard for me. And that's when I really got into the guitar, like just being able to express yourself, whether it's art or music or something. Like for me, I remember I lived kind of by this river, and I would go out every single night, go sit on a rock by this river by myself and just play the guitar and just sing, right? And it just some sort of whatever you can to express. Or so I think it just depends. There's all kinds of ways to get through it, but that was one that, you know, that worked for me sometimes.
Yeah, there's so many like outlets that you can go into. Art is a big one that people love. Like for me growing up, I love dance. I still do. Like dance was such a emotional release for me, right? Like so it is just very situational. Like it totally depends on the person. Like we've kind of just spitballed a few ideas, but yeah, it just depends on you, and like you know yourself and you know what you like, and just kind of experimenting with things and just, you know, trying to slowly like get yourself out of that dark hole that you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self struggling with depression right now?
I think I would, probably the first one we said is like talk to somebody. Start, like, don't hold it in. If you're starting to feel it come on, you're starting to feel it creep in. Again, like I didn't know what was happening, but just talking about it with somebody, I think, because it does, it like I said, for me, it always kind of spiraled. So if I could catch it early or talk to somebody, it could prevent a whole, you know, episode of feeling crappy. So yeah, I think if people are feeling that way, just you want to go and talk to somebody. And that usually can help you at least get you on the path to kind of get better.
So just remember, you guys, if you are struggling with this or you know somebody who's struggling with this, you are definitely not alone. No. Like, definitely not. This is the most common thing. Like, our generation specifically is like very depressed, and it's just it's really sad. But I hope that this podcast will save the world. And yeah, just don't be scared to reach out for help if you need it. I promise you, there's so many people in your life that want to help you and want to be there for you and won't judge you or think any less of you, and you're not going to be a burden to anyone at all. So we hope you guys like this episode. Dad, thank you so much for coming on.
You bet. Good to be here.
He'll be on another time. You guys love him. You guys love him.
Number one episode.
Number
right?
one. Yeah. No.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, you guys.
What? What am I supposed to do?
Okay, guys, that is it for this episode. I love you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.